And we're live.
So Lent goes for a
Whoa,
while.
whoa. We are live.
We are. Welcome.
Morning.
We're live.
Greetings,
Hello.
Hello.
you breathing creatures of vitality. Excuse me?
Breathing or breeding? Which one is it?
Are you making fun of my accent? I said breathing.
No. Breathing. Hey. I like that one.
That's what the soul is. A breathing creature of vitality.
Nice.
Yeah. That's where all the heavy lifting is, right? Below the sun and the soul. Spirit, soul, and body. Powerful and unstoppable. Juggernauts.
Help us.
Yeah.
What's the actual definition of juggernaut?
Powerful and unstoppable.
Sounds awesome.
What do you mean, Boston? See, you mean you defined the word? So you didn't pontificate like you didn't know what in the Sam Hill you were talking about? No, I try to, when somebody uses a big word, I'd appreciate it if you define it in the word, so I don't have to go to the Merriam dictionary. I'm just saying.
I guess I was raised to think it just as a X-Men character.
Yeah.
I know that's good.
Yeah.
What is it? What is he?
Yeah,
He's an unstoppable force.
Yes.
it's like a juggernaut behind you, Chris.
But he gets stopped a lot.
Yeah, that's Boston Bitcoin right there. Not
Boston
financial
Bitcoin.
advice. So Boston C, should we buy physical silver and gold or Bitcoin and Ethereum? Yes. Well, excuse me. Should we buy physical silver and gold or Bitcoin and Ethereum? Which one? Yes. Have a nice day.
All of the above.
Yes.
How's your
All the
intuition
above.
doing today? Boston C, you're being a little snarky. What's that? You're being a wise guy. I know.
It's Thursday. We're on Facebook Live.
Yeah. So speaking of that,
Shoot the breeze.
so everything that you do on Facebook is seen by everybody. Is that right?
Apparently.
Well, yeah.
So
Depends
when
on
you
the
go to
algorithm.
any Google search and you're doing like things like maybe you shouldn't be looking at or whatever, like it's imprinted into like, so everybody can observe where you go and what you do. Is that what I'm hearing? You can't really hide from anybody and keep your stuff private. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
Hey,
Make no assumption of privacy.
Yeah. So
What's
if we're living above the sun and everything we're doing, dealing with our junk, we're doing it in the light anyways, right? So if you can do it working on your stuff in front of Yahweh, you're naked. He sees everything, you know he does. So he's not going to love you. Not going to love us more when we perform different. No matter, its love is constant.
right.
So just whatever you do, just know that you're being looked at above the sun from love, but it doesn't judge like how everybody judges everybody here below the sun, but everybody's doing the same thing and judging everybody. Oh, Boston C, don't start. Yeah, let's start. Let's start there.
Everything brought to light. That's
Just do it in the light.
promise.
Deal with your stuff. Man, when I was dealing with stuff, I'd just say, Lord, this is what I'm doing. He says, I know. Oh, Lord, but I don't want to get a spanking, Lord. Oh, so you get his mercy. We're looking at
Let's look at the other side of that. Let's talk about the other side of it, the positive side. Everything done, everything's brought to light. So even the good, the well chosen,
Yeah.
the good choices, right? Those are
Nice.
all brought to life too.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
you be encouraged because the good that you do in secret
Mm,
will be honored by your Father in heaven,
nice.
right? That's
Ooh.
the really that doesn't get talked about when we talk about bringing things to light, right? We don't spend a lot of time encouraging people to not be worried about not being seen or heard with what they're doing in the good, because it is being seen and heard and it will be rewarded. It is the promise that you can take to the bank. Well, banks aren't much of a great place to go anymore with your promises, but you know the analogy I'm making. It can be and will be fulfilled because that's the Father's delight to bring goodness to light, His light, and reveal it on a top, on a city on a hill. That's a promise that He will keep. And I think we need to be encouraged in that and displace the worry about what we do in secret that's bad and start highlighting and magnifying the things that we do in secret that are good, so that you can be encouraged that it's not a waste of your time. It's not a waste of time to consider somebody and no one else and not and consider it and not worry about getting your reward for it, because it will be rewarded. Right. I mean, the whole pay it forward concept is a legit principle above the sun.
Yeah.
And Father recognizes it, and He will pay it forward more than you can even imagine. You just have to be faithful, consistent to do good. Choose the good over the bad, and you will be rewarded in due time.
Yep.
Choose your divinity, not your bestiality, right? Everybody in the humankind species has a choice. Every choice is either to go divine or go towards the beast side of things. The bestial side of things is our depravity, it's the corruptive side, but we have a choice to lean into the divinity of our design. Whether you're in the church or not in the church, it has no bearing on your design, right? You were created in the image of the one who breathed you into existence. And that includes the divinity of the God carrier and God vessel that you are, to carry His divine breath and nature. But you have a choice to lean into that or not every single day, and to lean into the one who designed you, who will bring you to remembrance of all things, of your divinity, of your godlike character and nature. That's the discovery. That's the whole point. I was talking to someone yesterday, no, Tuesday, about this, about how our whole life is simply a journey to remember. We forgot. We forgot our divinity. We forgot from where we fell. And so you were brought into the earth. You came into the earth breathing with amnesia. And it's simply a journey to rediscover, to remember who you are, who you're from, what you're about, to remember your divinity, what you were shaped out of. You're not just earthen vessels. You are containers of glory that you have forgotten. And the idea is that we are to journey to remember what we're supposed to contain and what we're supposed to be, and to break out of the bestial mindset that this world's systems try to keep you smothered in and keep you on a steady drip of amnesia juice, so that you run your whole life in complete ignorance and blindedness and deafness to that reality. To come out of amnesia and into the remembrance of what you were designed to be, which is glory, a luminous beings we are, right? And the make and design of our Creator.
Juggernauts.
Luminaries,
Luminaries.
bright and shiny ones,
Wow.
sons of light. Time
Yeah.
to arise.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's actually a Boston Sea worship song. Sons of light, it's time to arise.
Right.
Go on and flame on.
Flame on.
Got the
There
guitar.
does
Flame
seem to
on.
be a big awakening to us to remember who we were, who we are, what we carry. But the other side has done a really good job thus far of keeping us downplayed, reprogramming all of that, making sure our food was contaminated, you just as well say, and bringing processed food in and easy stuff because the other side knew that we would be all for what's fast and easy and that to keep us busy, so we would need the fast and easy stuff and to take out of the Word of God things that would and remove who we are, our power, our authority, and everything that we hold, and to just try to really take away all the natural stuff that God put here for healing and for us, and to give us pharmaceuticals that we take for things that God put natural stuff here that we could use in its place. And as you're sitting there, and we see if you watch any TV at all, we're being programmed, and then you have all of those medications that give you all the side effects. It's not detouring or keeping us from taking the medication, but what is it doing? It's programming in us to accept and believe and plant that seed that what is in that medication could cause all of these side effects, all of these horrible things. And then you sit taking it thinking, do I have that? Like you're ready to receive because you've heard it and it's now programmed as a seed into your head and it just goes. It's just so much going on. And the more we can unplug, the more we can grow our own food, the more we can start trading into farmers markets or people that that's doing it. And the more we can learn about natural ways of medication and taking care of ourselves. And that's why I wanted to do River Sound so much. I wanted to bring natural healing from crystals. What do they do? Who are we? How can we take the power back that's been stolen from us? And to just take different topics from such a wide area of so many topics and coming in, whether it be essential oils and just clearing your energy centers or herbal stuff or diet of what we're eating. And it's not that I know anything, but it's just a community of anyone that wants to come together and learn these things and be community. Then we come and we just honor everyone where they're at. And we may have topics, and even on Above the Sun, that's part of living above the sun, that you come on and you honor everyone where they're at. There's no wrong view. No one is wrong. Everyone has the right to be where they're at. They're very powerful, as Justin Abraham would say. They're powerful to have their opinion. And as long as you can find love and honor in that, that is the community I want to be in. I want to be where there's love and honor and everyone accepts my thoughts. And it opens up when they have something that's a different way of thinking that I can say, what if? And is there anything I can learn from that? Or either for the Holy Spirit later to say, you know what? Remember when they said that and there was some truth in it, and I'm highlighting that to you. And the same thing for them. If we say something and they're not ready to receive it, it's a seed planted to come back and to grasp a hold of. But there's definitely a great awakening happening, and it's really counteracting that other side. And I think that's why we have so much chaos. But then again, if you're a member of Justin Abraham, you can go listen. He's got this wonderful new series of talking about Enoch. And Paul Davis was on there and his wife, and she was talking about the messengers and the angels and all of the what part each angel played and how we can start coming into a order and alignment and working with them in those areas, joining in and engaging them. So it was very interesting. It's going to be a good series, but I really loved her little small group she was talking about. And I was like, that's a book right there. They need to make that into a book. And maybe she will.
I'd recommend reading the Book of Enoch. I'm kind of in that. That makes total sense what you're saying, because that's kind of where I'm at right now in the Book of Enoch, actually.
Good.
But I have free time and I mean, for me, definitely, well, I've been over it for a while, but normally we get our stuff from, the Bible. And but I'm enjoying going into, the Book of Enoch and whatnot and going, man, this is really good stuff. And it's definitely, for me, it's an easy read because that's where my playing field has been for a long time. And so I understand a lot of the stuff. But it just made more. I never read the Book of Enoch. I always heard about it and whatnot until probably until we started coming into the realms, and then I was like, oh, this is really good. And so that would be a definitely, I would recommend. And yeah.
And I think it's far now, because when you read in Enoch, he actually says that these writings are not for the generation now. They're
Yeah.
going to be for the generations to come. And through it all, he points out of Jesus, of Yeshua, the one who is going to come and what he's going to do and the people that are going to follow him. And it's for
Mhm.
after Jesus comes, it's for a generation that is now.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know, we should do a book club sort of thing
Yes,
with that book,
I was already
because
thinking about that too.
people, and we encourage people to read it, but really it's better if you do it in community, because it is mystical.
Yes.
It is go beyond the scope of the canon scriptures. It covers things that aren't necessarily in the canon scriptures, but there's a correlation to it. But if you are immature in your journey, you may get, and especially if you come out of the church wineskin, you're going to have some issues and some hangups. And it's good to be in community to read through that, to dialogue about what you're experiencing with people that are have been journeying this route a little bit longer and a little more understanding and maturity in that way. Maybe we should do something like that.
Yeah, sounds good,
That'd be
brother.
good.
I
Yeah.
thought, and those that wanted, I mean, you can actually get all of his teachings for $5 a month. And if you wanted to get it just until you got through the series, then you could do it. And if you had to financially or whatever, you could drop your $5 subscription to him. But to get it and listen to what he's going to start out very basic and build up, but to listen, because Justin's actually walking with Enoch now and having an experience with him and engaging with him and getting some inside information. And so,
to he's got free, I mean, he's shared a lot about Enoch already in his podcasts and whatnot as well. So
yes. And I don't know if this will be free or if it's only when I was on Patreon this morning, something was kind of messed up with it, and I kept trying to re-sign in, and it was saying, you can't watch this, it's locked, you're not a member, but you can join for $5. But I looked and I'm like, no, I'm still a subscribed member to him. So what's going on? It was like, so I had to work through some stuff to get back into it. but yeah, he's like getting some downloads, some spiritual downloads from Enoch, so that he feels like it's coming from Enoch. So I was thinking about that though. I said, "Oh, this would be good to listen to this together and go through the book and kind of read." And so had the same thought.
I would definitely do that. That would be fun. Yeah, because I mean the chapters are a lot of the chapters are really short. You know, in the book of Enoch, it's a quick read, or can be a quick read, but there's a lot to it. So, it's
Right.
pretty, yeah. And it
There's
really,
a few versions of it though. I mean, the translations. So we'd have to find one that we're all reading off of the same one that we feel like is
yeah.
And there's
the
isn't
better of the
there
two.
there's one even online for free. You can just go get it online, right?
That's what, yeah. Well, there's several online that are for free.
Okay.
I've
So
got,
we'll
Right.
just have to
I actually
agree,
have,
make sure we're all
a
reading
s-
from the same one.
I'm pretty sure Enoch
I have a
doesn't have
scanned
PayPal.
copy. I have a scanned copy of a book from the Library of Congress that's dated back into
Wow.
the teens, 1910 something. So I don't know.
I've heard from
It
people
was
that the Ethiopian version is that the Ethiopian version?
right. That's yes, but
Yeah.
there's the I haven't done enough deep research on the history of it, but there's two other versions, or not versions, two other volumes, Enoch 1, 2,
Oh
and 3.
yes. Yeah.
I've heard the first one's legit, the second one is arguably legit, the third one is sketchy. And I don't know. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done a deep dive into it. So sketchy in the sense of they don't know exactly who the author really was, if it was just compilation of other authors and they ascribed it to Enoch because of um, hundreds of years ago we didn't have the issue of copyright, the issue of
Right.
content concerns. It just someone wrote a book, I'm gonna read it.
It was just you copied that, right?
Yeah.
That was let's see, there's a Greek version and an Ethiopian version. But it is pretty mild as far as like it's heresy 101. It's not like you're not going deep. It's a book that's quoted, from the canonized, however you decide how that is. I mean, I dig in that a little bit. Like the canonization of scripture is not as clear as it was when I was growing up and how it was told. Like, oh yeah, these dudes got together and said, let's do this. The Council of Nicaea, right? And it's like, wait, no, actually, they didn't do that at the Council of Nicaea. That's not where the canon was laid down. But there are major chunks of Christianity today that still consider that a canonized book. It's part of their Bible. Like Dr. O's talked about that. He's like, my Bible has 88 books. I think it's 88. Anyway, it includes it.
Well, the
So
Catholic Bible has the Apocrypha in it,
right.
which is all these other books that the Protestant churches like don't even know that they exist unless they crack open a Catholic Bible,
Right. So it's not like this is some tertiary thing that only a few people agree on. Like no, it's actually just our groups that we were raised in that don't agree on those things. That say that's not part of it. So and some of these books they were rejected simply because they weren't verifiable that they were inspired. Not that they weren't historically accurate, not that they weren't accurate, not that they weren't correct. They just no one could say this was inspired. So I mean, you could have something that just duplicates what Paul said. All the truths line up, but because it can't be proven that it was inspired, we've left it out. So to consider these books just because they weren't left in as non-beneficial, it seems a little silly. And like it's at least worth knowing, what does this say? So it's even from that viewpoint, it has value.
Interesting that Deanna said when you threw out Noodle 88 books, she said 88 books of testimony. How many books are in the Bible? 60.
Ours is 66, right?
66.
Yeah.
66 from 88. So is what? 22 books.
Mhm.
If you go with how many books? 22. Interesting. And then who said that we can't read certain things? Who told us that? So to encourage everybody, you can read whatever you want and come to your own conclusions about anything. As long as you're in big love, if you're loving big, it's all
Knock it
good.
off.
So open up
Right,
the
we won't
book.
we won't we
and
won't
read
rat
any
on you.
book that you want.
We won't rat on you. We promise.
We won't tell anybody.
That's what I'll give up for Lent. I'll give up playing by the rules.
That was a long
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a while.
So good. That's exciting. When
We
would
just
we
keep
do
bringing it
that,
back
bro?
out. It's easy.
Would we do that on like Thursday or something? Would we do it live?
Yeah, we could decide on how we want to roll that out.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
'cause
would
Yeah,
it's
we can
really
do it.
fun.
We could do it
it's a
on
lot
here.
of chapters.
We
I
do
mean,
a
they're
lot of
short
this on
chapters,
the
as Paul
fly,
said. There's a lot
There is.
in those books, so it would take us a while to get through it. And if we devoted it just to Thursdays, man, so we can talk about how we want to roll that out. But it would
Yeah,
be
we could
fun.
like power through it on every call.
It'd
And
be awesome.
That's where we sit for a while.
It'd be a long while.
I don't know if anybody's doing Facebook Live riffing and musing through the book of Enoch. If there is, send it to me. But otherwise, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I love it. That'll be so much fun, man.
We'll make a plan and make an announcement on that.
Yeah, that's sweet. Nice suggestion. I love that. Living on the edge.
Well, I think it'd be awesome because I think more and more people are hearing this title, the Book of Enoch, and it's starting to get out more. People are interested in it, but no one really talks about it. Like you said, there's other just suggesting that's out there and go read it, and then
Right.
people are like, I don't know.
Yeah, have
So
you
it'd
read
be
it?
good.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Like, have you read it? Oh yeah, it's great. But yeah, I haven't had a discussion over it. And with the exodus that's occurring in the church in our nation, I'm like, man, before you step away, maybe take a sidestep a little deeper into it and just look at it from a different perspective before you abandon. And
Yeah.
and it feels like it would speak to that.
Yeah.
Well, if you simplify the conversation, and if we could all understand that everybody has a religion,
Sure.
in its pure form, it's an ideology, it's a belief system. Okay.
Sure.
So that tells me that if everybody has a belief system and everybody has a religion, then that's constantly open to change based on me deciding if I want to believe something different or enhance the belief I have. So let's just everybody come play nice and just beef up your religion and get better and work on your religion. Change it, burn it, refine it. And if we approach it like that, then I just think we can have these kinds of, dynamics where we're just, oh, so there were 22 other books. I'd like to learn more about those books. What's in there? Don't read those books. Okay, am I going to get something on me if I read them? And then you don't even know me. So you're telling me not to read something because you're concerned about me enough that you don't want to get something to get on me because I read a book? Don't worry about it. Big love has got me. I got this. I'm reading the book.
And they're just regurgitating what they've been told. I mean, most
Correct.
people that tell you don't read that book probably haven't even read the book. They're just regurgitating what they've been told and so forth and so on. And so everybody's scared about the boogeyman.
Yeah.
No one actually goes to see if it actually exists there,
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good question. The preamble, even starting the Book of Enoch, is why would a son not read something? What are the reasons? Like, what would qualify for me to say, no, I don't want to read that?
Well, the answer would be different based on the content of the book. Like, what's the book about?
Right, but like what's dangerous? I'm
not going to crack open a illustrated pornographic book.
Okay, yes, all right, yeah, that's an easy,
Get rid of the pictures, but you don't need to read the stories either, bro. So that
But
That
it
sounds
seems like
There's
it's
one
all
example.
surrounding or I guess, okay, so we can narrow this down. Why would we not read a book that has a controversial or a unaccepted
It-
book, a group of truths that, the book says? Like, the book says this, and we don't read it because we might believe it? Like, is that the fear? I mean, it's all fear-based in some ways, and it's all good stuff from growing up. It was like, we don't want you to go err. We don't want you to mess yourself up. Growing up, I usually had somebody, and even lately, well, I know someone who read that, and then their life got messed up. They got drawn into the adversary's camp. They got drawn away from a belief in God, and that's why you don't read it. And so,
And that's
what are the
elementary.
risks?
That's moronic in the sense of it's junior highish response, because there's so much information that's missing out of that statement. You don't know the journey of that person. You don't know what was going on in their heart. You don't know what was
Correct.
already situated in. You don't understand that what was really the catalyst for someone to fall away. And so, but you just gloss over all that stuff and just categorize it. Don't do this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think people fall away because of the lack of community to carry people through things.
Yeah.
So it isn't like I said at the beginning, it would be good to do this. And if you're going to read it, do it in a community, because you are going to cross over things that if you just in the normal church structure, you're not going to have a framework for and a grid work for some of the stuff, and not to be afraid of it, but to help understand it and to get in a dialogue with people about this
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's so important for that
Well, like,
as we
even in
break into the
school,
new.
it was, I think it was interesting. There was a restricted books section in the library. And the rumors were like, oh, there's like satanic books in there, cult books. And it was reserved for the preacher boys. It was reserved for those who are in training for Master's Divinity or whatnot. It was always like it was almost a military hierarchy. That's not for a lowly, private sergeant like you, buddy. That's for somebody who's either on track to be an officer or already achieved that. And then what is it? I'm looking back and thinking, like, what is it? Did they have some kind of theological armor that was expected to be put on before you can read something that has is outside of the accepted norm? And so a lot of that, it's in the back of our heads. Like, that stuff is for scholars, or that stuff is for people in leadership, or that stuff is for people with a different level of either responsibility or achievement than I've attained.
Right.
And
That's the way the book of my understanding that I've heard is that was the way, and is perhaps the way of book of Ezekiel with regard to Judaism. That it's reserved because it's mystical. It's reserved to those who have been brought through the rabbinical process and have years of experience, have mentorship, have journeyed in a relationship with a more experienced rabbi than to go and now they get access to the
right.
mysteries that are in Ezekiel. Now, I mean, for the church, we're just cracked up the Bible. I can read any part you want.
Yeah, let's do a youth group.
Yeah.
So
But-
okay, so that's a positive. Like Deanna just put out there, it's an attempt to prevent others from stumbling.
Right. That's the intention. Of
I think
course.
a lot of the other books left out a lot, or we got the 66 books. I was just thinking most of the books in the Bible are earthbound. Are very earthbound as far as this is what happens in earth, but we are not getting
True.
stuff above the sun.
Right.
So that's why people
Like
have
non-mystical.
Yeah, that's why the church has such a hard time with heaven and angels and
Revelations.
Revelation because
It's metaphor.
yeah, because and that's true. The reality
Yes.
is we've split. There's and it's
Right.
made it really, and I don't know if, when they did Constantine and everybody, I mean, wanted to keep everybody in that plane here instead of, there's such a huge relationship with the Father that there's so many, instead of just saying there's a cloud of witnesses up there that's interceding for us, why don't you share who the cloud of witnesses are and what they really do and the role that they really have with us, and that they are, they are with us right here along with the angels and the angelic realm and everything. It took away a lot of the mystical part of it. And
Right. The uncomfortable.
yeah, and so it has really, and that's why the book of Enoch, if you,
Right.
the Bible doesn't show too much, you know, Enoch walked with the Father and then he was gone. Then he doesn't share, any of that stuff, I mean, even
Right.
Jesus, the story of Yeshua was very, I mean, mystical, but we are missing so many parts of his life. And
Well, I was looking at reading what Deanna was saying about it. When you do it out of religion, out of form, wineskin of religion, it's very disruptive to the structure. It's because people are opening themselves up to experiences that can't be governed by rules and regulations, and they don't fit nicely into doctrines.
Yeah.
And so, if you don't have a relationship with your creator, with Yahweh,
that's the key right there.
then you're going to have these issues that are going to break down your structures. And so leadership, in the church that are not pointing the children to the Father and are staying in that mediated place, you have to go through me to get God. That disconnect is very dangerous because there isn't the righteous connection relationship for them to mature, for one, but second, to walk into the mysteries that are
Yeah.
there for the sons of Yahweh. And so doing the book of Enoch apart from Yahweh is going to get you into trouble because
Yeah.
you don't have the relational guiding and mentoring from the Father, from Ruach, to go through those things. And
Yeah.
so it makes sense why a church would basically say, he's God in heaven, we're in here, we're gonna box ourselves in and just stick with what's safe,
Yeah.
whatever
Safe.
they disguise safe.
That's the
Because
key right there.
if they get outside the fold, they get outside that box, that's you're susceptible to getting led astray
And
down
maybe
the
back then
primrose path.
that was where they needed to be at the time.
Yeah.
But the way that the Father's opening and awakening, it's like this stuff is, like Tina was saying, this stuff is opening up to us now.
Right.
We're
It's
able
part
to.
of the maturing process. This is
Yeah.
part of the maturing process of the son. I was actually, it's interesting because I was just talking to the father yesterday and about
Yeah.
the deep dive in some of the stuff that we get into the
Like,
complexities of
yeah.
our mysticism, the complexities of what is really weird is the complexity of science and the complexity of mysticisms that are actually blurring one another in this awakening period. And I was like, Father, why is this so complex? I mean, I'm enjoying being an analytical mind sometimes. I enjoy the complexities and be able to piece it together and get my head wrapped around it and be able to give language to it. And I said, is it important? I mean, am I getting too hung up on the complex, not hung up, but too much into the complexity? Am I, because I always come back to the simplicity, but he's like, do you give your children, a quantum physics book to read and study? Do you give them engineering calculation books, how to build skyscrapers, instructional books for engineering, those kind of things? I said, no, because they would be unable to understand what's in them. And he says, the complexity is for the mature. But you have to start as a child, your mind and your abilities, you have to grow into that. So there's guiding and into the complexities. never forgetting the simplicity of life and forgetting your first love, which leads you through that. But you are able to take on the complexities when you mature into them. So it's not that they don't exist. That was the other thing is, are we sure that we're just not making this stuff up? Are we building this, making this more complex than it really is? Right? If you have faith, like I remember growing up thinking, if you have faith like a mustard seed, you can do anything. That's pretty simple. I can touch my hand, lay my hand on somebody and they get them healed, right? And then we get real complex about the process of like preparing our hearts and making sure we're saying the right thing. And that's not a good example, but the idea is we have this tendency as humans to go into the complexity, make things complex. And so that was the kind of the vein in which I was dialoguing with the Father. Am I making things too complex to avoid something, or to make it more than what it is? And his response was kind of a surprising one, because usually it's like, yeah, you're trying to, you're making this more than what should be. And he's like, no, it's out there. This is legit. It is complex. It's multifaceted. And because I'm multifaceted, that is the design that I put in place.
Yeah.
But it's not for those that still drink milk. They're not for the immature yet, which is why we need the fivefold, why we need the fathership to bring people into maturity and point them to, who they're supposed to be connected to, their father, who will then teach them himself the complexities of mysteries, right? So
It
The
shouldn't
relationship
take us
is
this long to
complex.
grow up.
Pardon?
Oh, I was just going to say, it shouldn't take us this long to grow up and mature.
True.
I mean,
Sure.
2000 plus years, I think, we've, the religion has obviously stunted the growth to a point where it's so atrophied
Sure.
that, parts of the body of Christ doesn't even know that they're alive or they're able to be used, or they're, because they've
yeah,
atrophied. And so it's the kingdom, and they use the kingdom as narrow as and it's just like, oh my gosh, the kingdom, Papa's kingdom. Yeah, it's relationally getting there through Yeshua, through the Father. But my gosh, after that, it, it's endless. It's eternal. I mean, there's so much to, and the reason why we have the book of Enoch is because he walked with God.
yeah,
Relationally, that was the whole point.
Right.
you know Relationally, that was, he was following, in his fathers and grandfathers, great grandfathers, I don't know, footsteps. His ultimate thing was to get into the garden. He was just like, why can't I you know bypass the seraphim that's put, the angel of fire that's put in the garden. It's just like, I just want to go. I want to get back there. I want to, I know that's where I need to be, and the point of the book of Enoch and everything was, or is, part of it is just giving us history of what happened
Yeah.
to get him where he was now and to get us where we need to go, and realize that, my gosh, we have such a role to play in this awakening. And we gotta, I mean, you guys know, my wife and I haven't been feeling good for the last 5 days. And man, but I had an encounter and it brought me back, man. Daddy took me back to the garden. It was the coolest thing. And but along the way, it was, I had this whole cough thing and everything, and Daddy took me back to this experience that I had back when I was, in my parents' first church, and I came into agreement with something because I didn't want to go to church. So I made this whole excuse. My brothers and I lived in this, it was my parents' first pastor church and everything. And so I didn't want to go. I was back, little, and we'd have to take naps Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah.
I remember
So
that.
we all had the same bedroom. And so of course, we're boys. We don't really go to sleep, you know.
Never.
But I'm like, I would get, I'm like, do you guys want to go to church tonight? No, I don't want to go to church tonight. Okay, how can we get out of it? By coughing. So I would start coughing, and make it. And so, and of course, after mom responded, mom and dad responded, and we got the right response, and we didn't have to go. Now, the church was like 50 feet from the house, and there was hardly anybody going to the church, but still, we didn't want to go. So, but that opened up a door, that seed. I came in agreement with something that, by a little game, didn't want to go to church. That brought me into this whole point of, or dad was just saying, this is why every time you get sick, you get this cough. So, but the interesting thing is, I'm just talking to the father about this, and he takes me way beyond this place. Oric was the place, Oric, California, beautiful place. So many things, so many good and horrible things started in Oric, which, but daddy told me you didn't realize back then how powerful you are,
Right.
but everything around you did. It's like the witchcraft capital of the western part of the world. There's so much crazy stuff going on, but they saw us. They saw this little family of 5 coming into this little town, which daddy brought us to shine this amazing light. And in that light, which we didn't understand any of this stuff back then. I was telling Jeff, deliverance for us, the only time that we would see somebody delivered was at a youth camp or a church, one of the Pentecostal meetings. And some person would be, having this demonic, and flipping out, and we'd cast them out, and it'd be awesome, you know. But Father took me past that, and took me way past, basically, to the Garden of Eden, and he showed me the tree of good and evil. Good knowledge, yeah, the tree of good knowledge, or but he took me there, and it was just interesting. It was like, okay, so this is where we think everything happened, and where the Lucifer kind of. But then he took me back there. He said, "No, this is not where everything happened. There was uprisings way before all this happened."
Right.
Took me even farther back, and then then he shared some stuff. He wanted to deal with the reptilian seed line that I had, and I've dealt with some of that stuff before. But even before that, so it was really interesting, just conversation, and so yeah, and this was all, so part of it was the journey, just getting to the garden. And then Father said, okay, we need to deal with this in the courts. So in my mind, okay, I got to deal with protocol. And then he just takes me and said, all right, we're in my court now because this is a legal matter. We need to deal with this legally. We need to deal with this in a different mindset. And sometimes he does that with me, sometimes he doesn't. And so I'm learning the court system and the kingdom and what's going on. You would never be taught this in church. You would never be,
No.
So I, took me there, dealt with some court stuff, it was so cool. But the accusers, calling the accusers in, I couldn't believe how many accusations, that were coming at me because of this whole cough thing. I'm like, oh, it's just and I understood that. I came into agreement with something naively as a kid, didn't want to go to church. Enemy doesn't play fair, but either does Yeshua. I mean, I think we got to realize that our Father's way bigger than Lucifer.
Good word, bro.
Greater is he that is in you.
We are so entrenched in how small we are and how insignificant we are, and that was one of the points of this whole court case. After it was all over, And we dealt with all the stuff, and case was pretty much closed. Father just said, "Boy, you need to fill your son. You need to fill your boots." He told me and the crazy thing is, right after that, he goes, "And I need you rich." And that was like, that was a word that I struggle with, just for the fact that I love wealth. I love being wealthy. Rich is a total none. It's just like, okay, what's the difference? I want to have a wealthy mindset in all ways and be rich. But he knew that my play in words was rich, rich, and Richard mean king. Rich is actually shrink it down for Richard, which Richard is king. And that was the whole point. I need you to be a king. I need you to walk as a king. I need you as a son to begin to walk as father does, and in the king and in the kingdom and my kingdom, and let's get going.
Let's go.
And so that was the whole, but we still got to deal with our junk.
Okay.
But we can also operate in the fullness of who we are, because we got to. We got to. And so, yeah, king, priest, legislator, oracle. Yeah. And so
It's more
a
easy to
lot
deal
of
with
this,
junk.
yeah,
From a
is
position of authority.
training. Yeah. I mean, I think we deal with our junk. Yeah. You think it becomes less, then Father takes you to a whole nother deal. But, it's just like, okay. But that's relational, and man, it's just so I mean, he took me past the garden, and we always think the Bible starts at the garden, a lot of it created, and we don't get that whole, you know, what goes on from creation to, God created heaven and earth and all that stuff, and da 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 da. And we don't realize that wisdom and the living letters and everything else are partnering with the whole creation and remembering. And so that's the part that we're missing. And a lot of it, we won't get it. We haven't got it because the church decided back in the day to take all the mystical out of the Bible
Right.
and all the other chapters and everything else. And this is where people get so stuck on that they don't, relationally, they have a relationship with the Holy Bible. They don't have a relationship with the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit and the angelic and the kingdom that is within us. The enemy has shrunk us down so small that we don't have the faith to think big and to be I'm possible and it's just like, this is my heart.
It's like
Yeah.
reading the Bible without having
Yes.
the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Imagine sitting in the living room with the author of a book and reading it and trying to glean everything from that book, and the author's sitting there like wanting to talk with you, like, shut up, I want to read, I got to read your book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I need to know who you are, so stop talking to me so I can read your book,
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
important to read inspired books, but what I want to be inspired,
Yeah.
right?
And
Wouldn't that be the goal?
that's the point. That's a good point, bro, because you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Like when we speak, okay,
Yeah.
when we riff like this, your body is we've been vibrating almost an hour. I know we're getting to the top of the hour. And when somebody is religious and you're having a conversation and they're throwing out scriptures that they've memorized, it's different. And they recognize, it's almost like they see that we're using a fluidity because we have that relationship. You can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, we've had Papa's mercy and grace and everything. And his love is so big that he allows us to be where we're at, and we experience him where we're at in such powerful ways. I cannot discount my testimonies of living in the Bible, having a relationship with the Bible, and then coming from and oh my gosh, Holy Spirit, you're amazing, and then all this, the
testimonies.
process, and that's the key.
And it's your testimony, right? You are a living, breathing book. And I think that earlier on we were talking about Deanna mentioned the 88 books or 88 testimonies, right?
Yeah.
The reality is that the book is a a
Catalyst.
gathering, a collection of
Yeah.
individual testimonies
Yeah.
of people's life living out their relationship as they understood it in their context, and then writing it out so that we could understand their engagement, not to be our measure, but to be an example for us to become our own living, breathing testimonies. We are as sovereign kings and beings to be living testimonies. And some of us may write our testimony down for others to read from generations in the future. Others won't. But we are living, breathing testimonies. And we have to remember that as we read in scripture, that it is a history of testimonies
Yeah.
to connect us to the one who is creating our living, breathing testimony.
Yeah.
We say we have scrolls, but we can be cracked open and be read, and we are read daily by people who we engage with.
Yeah.
They don't understand that context, but they are living and especially as we grow in maturity and sons, we are cracking open for people to read us and the testimony of our book, so
Yeah.
that they can come into relationship with him and begin to crack open their testimony for others.
Yep. Yep.
And this is not an alien concept. I've received incredible encouragement and has changed my mindsets by reading the book of Blackaby.
Yeah.
Right? It's an easy thing. It's a totally understandable concept to hear a word spoken and to be changed by it.
Yep.
I mean, that you would say growing up, that was part of the church. You go to church, you hear this dude talk, and you're changed by it, right? Yeah, it's alive. It's happening in real time, and it's an easy concept. So, what are people around me in my relationships? What are they reading from the Book of Eric?
That's good, bro. That's good
Man.
right there, man.
And what's
Should
really
stop out
good is
high.
we get to rewrite our story as well.
That's right.
And another thing I wanted to come up as we were talking about the other side and the enemy is he has no power, only the power that we give him.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
once we realize that, that can change our lives.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give him power over that. I'm not going to come into agreement with that. And then rewriting our story, cleaning up our junk, going into the courts, removing stuff out of our bloodline, removing stuff that gave him power that we had given him because of an open door that we opened, that we're able to go back and close it and rewrite that story.
Yeah.
So that's such an amazing thing of the grace of God.
Yeah.
Oh, and it gives me some grace for the church too, right? The adversary knows that if you smack somebody when they stick their nose out over and over again, you're going to make them afraid. They're shell shocked. They're like living in a city that's been under the adversary's bombardment. Like, man, you keep it simple. Yes, is the gospel simple? Yep, as a glass of water. It's easy to digest, and it's infinitely deep. And that deep is part of the relationship. So the adversary knows you smack somebody enough, they're not going to poke out. They're not going to want to dig deeper. They'll stay where it's safe. And that, to understand, I don't know, for me at least, to see the church that way, instead of like the gatekeepers withholding this secret knowledge, but they've been beat up, man. Beat up over and over and over again. And they stayed where it was safe. And I can have a little grace there, right? Like, I'm not mad at you. I understand. Like, there's a tenderness that can be, okay, it's all right. You've
So
been
good,
hurt.
bro. So good.
And
so
that's
good.
just in the last 100 years of our history. And I don't even know what goes beyond that.
That's good.
We're at the top of the hour.
Yeah, it's time.
It's
Folks,
time.
it's good. Follow us abovethesun.io, abovethesun.io. Follow Boston C. Go to X, formerly Twitter, at Above the Sun Life, Above the Sun Life. And we love all your journey with us. And we're all sons and daughters of Union Above the Sun. just
Yep.
changing the atmosphere below the sun.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. We
Shalom.
love you. Thanks for some fun conversation. This was so fun.
Yeah.
Be whole and complete.
That's
Know
right.
who you are.